Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Professor Hill. It's a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College for the summer of 2025. And today is Monday, June the 16th, 2025. It's the beginning of week 2 for us. And we just had our first big essay due last night. So today is Monday, and they came in Sunday night at midnight. Today's Monday. I went through and graded them all. Oh, and I have a lot to say about that. So here's the good news. The instructions were, read chapter 1, look at the case study, write an essay, and then, as I said more than once, the first thing you do is take your essay and copy and paste it into the reply box on the discussion, and you hit enter. And then, hey, you've submitted your essay and you can see everybody else's, and you read through them and you comment on at least 2 of them. And we even did a dry run with this on the introductions and welcome last week. But so, hey, look, this is my attitude is, this is our first one. It's a learning opportunity. So trying to be, polite and generous and a little lenient the first time through. But whereas many of the students did it just right, thank you, made my life easier to grade. Here's the list of stuff that you should not do again, okay? First of all, when you write your essay, you've read the chapter, and now you're writing your essay, you got to bring in something from that chapter. We read it for a reason. You need to bring in one of the concepts, one of the definitions. And look, that can be simple. There were people who were just wrote like, here's the definition of morality from chapter 1, our beliefs about good and bad, right and wrong, in quotes. And they say, Doing Ethics by Lewis Vaughn, page 7. That's it. That's all you had. That was the minimum, okay? So you needed to do that. So if you didn't read chapter 1, you just went off the top of your head, hey, you know what? You lost a lot of points for that. You have to include something from the chapter in your essay. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated, but now here's the next thing. Variations on a theme. That means that you can't mention something from chapter 5 and drop it in and say, I put in something from the textbook. That's not how this works. It's from the assigned reading for that assignment, in this case, chapter 1. The next thing was, people included stuff from outside sources, which is great, and you're welcome to do that, but you also always have to have something from the assigned reading, in this case, chapter 1. So if you had 10 sources from outside, but you didn't include a reference from chapter 1 in our book, Doing Ethics, you still lost points. You had a good essay, don't get me wrong, but you got to meet that minimum threshold. Now some of the more logistical things. Hey, here's another thing. The whole point is for you to, and I was super clear about this, once you've got your essay, copy and paste it into the reply box and hit enter, and that's the first thing you do. You cannot, for example, just enter the conversation and read other people's essays first and then write your own. Guys, newsflash, I can see when you do that, you can't do that. I'm going to mark you down for that. You can't write one sentence, hit enter, then read through everybody else's, and then come back and then have a second part. An hour later, you write some more. I got to tell you, your essay and what I'm grading is the first thing that you entered. So if you entered one sentence and then an hour later put in 200 sentences, I'm only going to grade the one, okay? Somebody's learning that one the hard way. Don't do that again. I'm interested in your own original thoughts and things and writings on this. I don't want you basically copying and pasting ones you've already seen because you thought I could, I'll put a period there, hit enter, look around, and no one will know. Guys, the whole system is set up to where I can see all of that. So please don't do that again. Your essay has got to be the first thing that you put in, and it's got to all be there because that's what I'm going to grade. Again, I'm trying to be nice and lenient the first time around. And look, here's another thing. If you have an accident, that there is a mistake, and then you fix it right away, I can also see that. So I'm not going to like hammer someone who was trying to enter it, made a mistake, and then they fixed it. I'm going to be like, oh no, I see what that is. No problem. That's somebody who has it partially entered, and then, a minute later they submit their whole essay. I can see that. It's the partially entered, and then a day later, that's the problem. Because again, it's all time stamped. Anyway, more things that are problematic. So you got to have something from the chapter. You got to enter it first. I swear to God, you got to comment on at least 2 of your classmates. If you commented on only 1, I just gave you a small grade, like a 1 out of 100, and sent you a message saying, hey, please finish your assignment. You're not done yet. So once you have submitted your essay and you've commented on at least 2, then you'll be complete, and then I'll grade it. I'll take away the 1 and give you an actual real grade for the assignment. Again, I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm just trying to say there's rules in place and we got to follow them. And again, I'm trying to be lenient because we're still learning the rules. I get it. Other problems. The 2 biggest ones were people who just went off the cuff and didn't include material from chapter 1. And they might have given me their moral reasoning, which I was looking for, but it didn't have the reference. What was way more frustrating is the people who didn't give me their moral reasoning. And that really took 2 shapes. One was the whole, no, there's no right or wrong. I'm on the fence. I can't make a decision. And that was kind of not the assignment. The assignment is not to throw up your hands and say, wow, this is really complicated and hard, so there's no right or wrong. If you want to really seriously defend the position that there is no right and wrong, we're going to have that in chapter 2. We're going to find people that believe that. And we're going to talk about people who really think that there is no morality, that there is no right and wrong, that we live in a world where that doesn't exist. We're not even to that chapter yet, though, but that's coming up this week. This is week number 2, chapter number 2, and I haven't gotten there. I'm still complaining about the essays. Okay, so the other thing that people did, and apart from saying, oh, there's no right and wrong, was to say this. They went into, let me tell you what Jenny was thinking. And I'm like, I know what Jenny was thinking, and I know the decision Jenny made, apart from the whole thing about it was really her mom. I talked about that last week in the videos, that it really wasn't Jenny's decision because she's a minor. It was really her mom's decision. But apart from that, one of the things that I said was you have to identify who the decision maker really is in all of these situations. But I also want to know what your thinking is. Don't just tell me, well, this is what Jenny was thinking. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know if you think it was right or wrong. I'm going to force you to make judgments about these actors. Now, and look, so I need to say something about that. A lot of people grow up with, their mom or grandma or somebody telling you, don't judge other people. And the thought behind that is a good thought, which is, look, don't be haughty and think you're better than everybody else. Because, to be a judge, you have to be up here and you're making judgments down on these little people. And somehow, and their point is, yeah, look, you need to understand and respect other people and their decisions, but we also have to make moral decisions. Our lives are filled with deciding whether things are good or bad, right and wrong for ourselves. And I want to know what you think about these things. So it doesn't help when somebody says, Jenny made a decision that she thought was right for her. And I'm like, yeah, that's why she made that decision. It's almost ontology. It's like just state the obvious. I do want you to say whether or not, and some people were real clear about this. And if you read through some of the other essays, you saw people who start off with a real clear, I think what Jenny did was wrong. I think what Jenny did was right. In fact, even heroic. So, you're going to have to, you can't just sit on the fence and make things go away like, nah, I can't make a decision. It's too hard. Or somehow I feel bad if I feel like I'm judging them. And the answer is, you are. I'm asking you to do that. I'm asking you to make moral decisions about people's choices, whether it's not right or wrong, in part because we have to do this. I'll come back to the people who said there is no right and wrong later. But the fact of the matter is, you are going to be asked to make extraordinarily difficult decisions that have complex ethical dimensions to them. If you have family, if you have friends, my God, if you have parents and kids, you know this already. And that is, there's just a whole range of extraordinarily difficult issues out there that we're going to have to wrestle with, which is why we have this class. We work our way through them now to get experience and understanding. So be clear about that, especially when we get, to the next couple of cases. All right. So look, I've tried to be, understanding and lenient. This is our first essay. This is the first time through. But in terms of the practical decisions, that's stuff you've got to get right for the next time. You got to have your essay done before you even go to that discussion, and you got to enter it all in there as the first thing that you do. Because if you read the syllabus, it says quite clearly that I can fail you for that assignment or the whole course for violations of that rule. It's terribly important. So make sure that you do that right. And again, if you make a mistake, I get that. Tell that to me. Let me know. I was trying to enter it in and I made a mistake, but then I entered it and I could see that, 30 seconds later, you submitted it. So that'll be okay. And like I said, make choices. Think your way through it, make a choice, defend it. That's what I'm asking you to do. And it's especially true for this week. As we get to chapter 2, I'll spend more time talking about this tomorrow. But I'm going to want you to decide with the case study, John the plumber. I know what John thinks. He's clear about it. I want to know what you think about it. And then I'm going to ask you to describe your thinking based upon the language of the chapter. What concept in the chapter best describes your thinking about John the paramedic and what he did? But that's for another day. Right now, it's just the grades are up with a couple of exceptions. And I'm also trying to go through for people that are not here that I need to drop. So I'm going through and dropping people. By the way, if you had some emergency, I had 1 or 2 students who said, look, I've had a problem. I need extra time. I'm in the hospital, literally. I'm like, okay, just reach out to me. Let me know. Keep me abreast if you need some flexibility. I'm happy to do that. We're still early on. It's only week 2. So I have some maneuverability, some flexibility. But you got to be in touch with me so I know what's going on. So a couple of students I'm going to have to drop just because they haven't participated. They didn't submit essays. They haven't showed up. So anyway, that being the case, if you haven't submitted an essay and you don't want me to drop you, you better let me know pretty quick. All right, take care. It's the end of a long day. I hope you guys had a good weekend, good Father's Day. And I'll talk to y'all again soon. Take care. Bye-bye. All right.